From the outside, Rachel and Andrew were a Silicon Valley success story. Their names echoed through the corridors of innovation and venture capital. Their home an elegant fortress perched atop Pacific Heights, framed by sweeping views of the bay. The mansion's grandeur spoke of triumph, a life sculpted from ambition and relentless drive. But behind those polished walls, Rachel watched her dream fracture. Piece by piece, beneath a fragile veneer, morning light filtered softly through the tall windows, casting a cool, pale glow over the spacious kitchen. The air was crisp with early spring chill, yet the atmosphere inside felt colder, distant. Rachel moved with practiced grace, preparing breakfast with deliberate calm. Her eyes flicked to the framed quote hanging just above the kitchen nook, "Trust built the future." She paused, lingering on the words longer than usual, a subtle shadow crossing her composed face. Andrew appeared in the doorway, hair tousled from restless sleep, his usual charm just barely masking the tension in his distracted eyes. "Got an early meeting," he said hurriedly, grabbing his keys and wallet. The brief kiss he pressed to Rachel's cheek was automatic, void of the warmth it once carried. He was gone before she could ask the question curling on her lips. Rachel's phone buzzed, a call from her mother. Margaret. The voice on the other end was warm, yet edged with the kind of concern only a mother's intuition could convey. "Everything still perfect?" Margaret asked gently, the question hanging between love and doubt. Rachel forced a steady laugh. "Of course, Mom, why wouldn't it be?" After hanging up, Rachel walked toward the driveway to retrieve her car. As she opened the rear door of their Tesla, something caught her eye. Nestled among the scattered crumbs of the previous night's drive was a pearl earring, delicate, unmistakably feminine, and certainly not hers. She picked it up, the cool weight in her palm anchoring a sudden unease. Back in the kitchen, she sat alone at the marble island, the soft hum of the city waking around them. The earring glistened under the recessed lights as Rachel's mind raced, silence wrapping tightly around her. The dread she felt was quiet but insistent, an unwelcome truth edging closer. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a locked screen notification on Andrew's device. She glanced over, her eyes narrowing. The message preview read, "Last night was unforgettable. See you Monday. L." The sender's initial was a blade, slicing through the illusion. Rachel sat motionless, the mansion's elegance now a cage. Outside, the bay shimmered with promise. Inside, a storm was gathering, hidden beneath the facade. Rachel never believed in accidents, not in business, and certainly not in marriage. Her world was built on meticulous planning, on the assurance that every detail, every move, was accounted for. The notion that something could slip through the cracks without reason was foreign to her. She sat in her study, the soft glow of her laptop screen illuminating a face set with determination. Her fingers danced across the keyboard, navigating through layers of security logs from the smart home system she had once installed herself. The app, though outdated, still held a treasure trove of data, footage, timestamps, motion sensors, door access history, all neatly archived. As she scanned through the logs from the past few weeks, a particular entry caught her eye, a figure entering the house during the time she had been away on a business trip. Later that day, Rachel met Naomi Beck at a quiet cafe nestled in a less flashy corner of the city. The sky was overcast, the kind of gray that seeped into bones and thoughts alike. Naomi, an investigative journalist known for her relentless pursuit of truth, listened intently as Rachel recounted the discovery. "You need someone who doesn't lose," Naomi said, stirring her coffee thoughtfully. "Someone who knows how to dig where others give up. There's a lawyer, Samuel Green, who's sharp, ruthless, and good at making sure the truth comes out." Rachel nodded, filing away the name with care. Back home, Rachel returned to the footage. The timestamp showed Laura Park, an employee from Andrew's company, walking through the front door with ease. The footage was grainy but undeniable. She had never suspected Laura before, always dismissed her as a harmless colleague. Now the picture was shifting. Then came the breakthrough. Rachel managed to recover deleted iCloud backups from Andrew's tablet, hidden files that Andrew had tried to erase. Among the retrieved data were messages exchanged between Andrew and Laura. Their tone was casual, but the subtext was clear. One message made Rachel's heart tighten. "She suspects nothing. This is our year." Rachel leaned back, the weight of betrayal pressing down. Her mind raced, calculating the next steps, the moves she would need to make in this quiet war unfolding behind closed doors. The game had changed, and Rachel was no longer a bystander. Samuel Green never forgot the man who stole his patent, or the woman who just walked into his office. His minimalist downtown San Francisco office was a study in efficiency: glass walls, sparse furnishings, and a wall lined with framed victories, case after case where justice had been served, often ruthlessly. When Rachel Carter entered, there was an unspoken understanding that this was no ordinary client. Naomi's words echoed in Rachel's mind as she sat across from Green, her hands steady despite the turmoil inside. He only fights for those who intend to win. It was a mantra Green lived by, and one Rachel now embraced fully. Rachel laid out her findings with precision. Email threads exposing Andrew's infidelities, hotel invoices paid with company funds, suspicious financial overlaps between personal and corporate accounts. Each piece of evidence chipped away at the facade Andrew had so carefully constructed. Green's interest deepened when Rachel mentioned the prenuptial agreement. Most assumed it was ironclad, but Green's eyes gleamed as he revealed a hidden flaw, a morality clause buried deep within the contract that could revoke Andrew's founding shares. "He didn't just cheat on you," Green said with a smirk. "He violated fiduciary ethics." The room seemed to shrink as Green outlined the plan: quiet, calculated, and devastating. The gala night on April 5 was their target. A room full of cameras and investors who trusted Andrew's image. "Let's ruin him in a room full of cameras," Green declared. Rachel felt a spark ignite, a mix of fear and fierce resolve. She agreed to keep silent for now, gathering every scrap of digital evidence into a dossier that would serve as their arsenal. The game was set, the pieces moving into place. April 5 was no longer just another date. It was the day justice would be served. Their home had once been a haven. Now, every wall whispered secrets. The sprawling Pacific Heights mansion, once a sanctuary of love and ambition, felt more like a prison, a glass house reflecting every hidden fracture. The cold, sterile lighting cast long shadows through the empty halls, accentuating the silence that weighed heavy on Rachel's shoulders. Andrew's careless words echoed in her mind from an argument weeks ago. "No one checks where they sleep." He'd spoken with such arrogance, as if their marriage was a mere formality, a backdrop to his secret life. Tonight, those words fueled Rachel's resolve to uncover the truth buried beneath the polished surfaces. She sat cross-legged on the floor of the study, headphones plugged into the smart speaker system. After hours of painstaking retrieval, Rachel had managed to recover several audio clips from the past few months, fragments of conversations, laughter, whispers. Among them, Laura's voice stood out, intimate and unmistakable, speaking with Andrew in tones that once belonged only to a husband and wife. Rachel's gaze shifted to an old tablet she had rediscovered in a forgotten drawer. It was a trove of evidence: photos, messages, hotel bookings. Not just Laura. Names and faces flickered through the files: Clara, Jennifer, others she had never suspected. The breadth of betrayal was staggering. Tucked between the files, Rachel found a series of handwritten notes, cryptic, remorseful, belonging to Clara, a former employee who had left the company under vague circumstances. The notes hinted at blackmail, coercion, and a silence bought at too high a price. With trembling hands, Rachel queued up security footage from several nights ago. The grainy video showed Andrew arriving with Clara, their proximity intimate. On another night, Laura slipped in alone, glancing around before closing the door softly behind her. Then, her heart skipped. A hidden folder on the tablet contained a recent message from Clara herself. He said, "Silence buys protection. I signed, but I regret it." The words hung like a noose in the dim room. Rachel's thoughts spun. Clara wasn't just a name, she was a key, one that could unlock the full extent of Andrew's deception. Naomi's message popped up on her encrypted chat. "I'm on it. No one will find her before we do." As dawn crept in, Rachel compiled her findings into a stark visual presentation. Every audio clip, every photo, every note meticulously organized, ready for the moment when the truth would no longer be a whisper behind closed doors. The calm before the storm settled over the mansion. But Rachel was no longer the woman broken by betrayal. She was becoming a force, cold, precise, and unstoppable. While Andrew rehearsed his keynote speech in the polished backstage area of the Bayline Grand Ballroom, Rachel rehearsed his downfall in her mind with unwavering focus. The marble floors gleamed under the grand chandeliers, and the hum of arriving guests and flashing cameras filled the air, creating an electric atmosphere of anticipation. Investors in tailored suits nodded politely as they mingled, unaware that this night would mark a turning point. Samuel Green stood near the press section, coordinating with Naomi and other legal witnesses. His sharp eyes scanned the crowd, making sure every detail was in place. Strike not when they expect you, but when they feel invincible, he had told Rachel earlier, his words resonating deeply as the plan unfolded. Rachel, dressed in a sleek black gown that matched the evening's formality, moved calmly through the crowd. Each step was measured, each breath controlled. She was entering enemy territory, but this time, she was armed with truth and resolve. Andrew took the stage, his confident smile in place as he began outlining the company's ambitious international expansion plans. His voice carried easily through the ballroom, backed by a presentation full of optimistic charts and projections. Laura sat among the front rows, her poised expression masking the tension that Rachel knew simmered beneath. As Andrew's pitch reached its crescendo, Rachel's moment arrived. She walked onto the stage, her presence commanding the attention of every eye in the room. The murmur of surprise rippled through the crowd as she spoke clearly. "With all due respect, I have a few things to say." The room fell silent, the chandelier's glow casting sharp shadows. Rachel unlocked her phone and tapped play. The speakers filled with a voice, a private confession caught on an audio clip. "She's just the mother of my child. You are my future." Gasps and whispers erupted, the polished event fracturing into chaos. The truth had breached the glass walls of Andrew's carefully curated world. Off stage, Clara's affidavit lay sealed, time-stamped and ready, while Naomi signaled reporters to begin live broadcasting. The game had begun, and Rachel was no longer hidden in the shadows, she was center stage. "You think this is revenge?" Rachel's voice echoed through the opulent gala ballroom, cutting sharply through the murmurs and clinking glasses. "No, this is justice." The live stream cameras captured every word, broadcasting it to thousands watching from around the world. The intense lighting cast stark shadows on her face. Resolute and unyielding, the media swarmed around, flashes popping like gunfire, while investors who had just been nodding in approval now exchanged uneasy glances. Andrew Whitmore stood nearby, struggling to maintain control of the narrative, his polished smile faltering under the weight of the revelations. Rachel's presentation was methodical and devastating. Audio clips played aloud, whispers of betrayal and callousness, screenshots of texts, emails outlining secret rendezvous, transaction logs revealing misuse of company funds for personal affairs, all laid bare for the crowd. Each piece of evidence was a nail in Andrew's carefully constructed coffin. Samuel Green stood beside her, summing up the breach with surgical precision. "The prenuptial agreement's moral clause," he explained, "clearly states that such violations can revoke Mr. Whitmore's founding shares and fiduciary rights. This is not just infidelity, it's a breach of trust that endangers the company's integrity." The room shifted, whispers turned to judgment. Slowly, tables began to empty as investors filed toward the exits, faces etched with disappointment and disillusionment. Then, Rachel dropped the final blow. "I'm 6 months pregnant, and officially filing for divorce as of tonight." A hush fell. The gravity of her words reverberated across the room, silencing even the most skeptical. From the back, a voice cut through the tension. An investor CEO stepped forward, eyes locked on Andrew. "Andrew, we'll speak in private, and you'll bring a lawyer." Meanwhile, Green leaned in, whispering to Rachel about Clara's impending press statement, another public strike that would widen the breach. Laura, visibly shaken and cornered by the gathering storm, stormed out in disgrace, leaving behind whispers and a trail of ruined reputations. Tonight, under the brightest spotlight, Andrew's empire began to crumble, and Rachel stood at the center. Unbroken and vindicated, Andrew's empire didn't crumble overnight. Instead, it shattered quietly, in boardrooms filled with tense whispers, in inboxes flooded with pointed questions, and across headlines splashed with his name in bold. The public spectacle was only the beginning. The real battles were fought behind closed doors. Naomi's words echoed in Rachel's mind. Scandal doesn't just go viral, it multiplies. That truth was unfolding rapidly as the fallout from the gala spread through every corner of Whitmore Tech. At headquarters, Andrew's legal team worked feverishly, crafting carefully worded statements denying any misuse of company funds and framing the entire affair as a family misunderstanding. His public image was tattered, but he clung to the hope of regaining control. His desperation was palpable as he sat through meeting after meeting, trying to reassure anxious investors. Meanwhile, Rachel settled into her temporary apartment, a stark contrast to the grandeur she once shared with Andrew. Yet, here she found clarity and purpose. She connected regularly with Samuel Green, who was meticulously preparing the legal filings to revoke Andrew's control over his shares, leveraging the prenuptial agreement's moral clause and newly uncovered evidence. One evening, Rachel and Naomi spoke with Clara via video call, speaking anonymously to protect herself. Clara revealed the extent of Andrew's manipulation, how he coerced her into signing a stringent non-disclosure agreement, silencing her while he continued his deceit. Clara's courage fueled a growing wave of support, sparking the viral #ReclaimVoice movement on social media, amplifying the stories of those previously unheard. Rachel stood firm when Green proposed a private settlement. "No," she said resolutely. "I want a public apology. Corporate accountability. This isn't just about me, it's about everyone Andrew has wronged." Just as the pressure mounted, Green's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his expression sharpening. A whistleblower from within Whitmore Tech, an accountant, had come forward with confidential documents implicating Andrew in deeper financial misconduct. The stakes had just escalated beyond anything Rachel or Andrew had anticipated. While the world dissected her marriage, parsing every scandalous detail for headlines, Rachel was busy writing a different story, one of rebirth, resilience, and purpose. She wasn't content to be defined by betrayal. Instead, she was determined to forge a new identity, one that transcended the wreckage and pointed towards something stronger. Margaret's words lingered in her mind. "After fire comes fertile ground." The wisdom of her mother had never felt more real. In a shared workspace nestled in the heart of San Francisco, bathed in soft spring light, Rachel was surrounded by a diverse group of female tech founders. The energy was palpable, ambitious women ready to disrupt the status quo, to innovate, and to lead. This was the birth of Carter Initiatives, Rachel's new foundation dedicated to funding and mentoring women in technology. Naomi, ever the fierce investigative journalist, published a comprehensive exposé detailing systemic corporate cover-ups and abuse of power, shining light where shadows had long prevailed. The article ignited conversations across industries and strengthened Rachel's resolve. During a rare visit, Margaret embraced her daughter with a pride that went beyond words. "You were stronger than I ever taught you to be," she admitted softly, eyes glistening. The pinnacle of the day came with an unexpected email, an invitation to deliver the keynote at an upcoming global tech summit. The opportunity symbolized more than professional recognition. It was a call to lead on a stage far beyond personal grievances. Just as Rachel sat back, envisioning the road ahead, the office door opened. Clara stepped in, her expression resolute. "I'm ready to speak," without hiding. Rachel looked up, a flicker of hope and determination passing between them. The phoenix was rising, and this time, her voice would not be silenced. "He wants redemption?" Rachel asked, her voice calm but edged with steel. "Let's start with truth." Green, sitting beside her, nodded thoughtfully. "Settlements can heal wounds, or bury them deeper," he said. "It's up to us to make sure this one does the right thing." The atmosphere in the Whitmore Tech headquarters auditorium was thick with tension and anticipation. Employees, board members, and former staff gathered in the legal meeting room, watching closely as the final act in this corporate and personal saga unfolded. Andrew Whitmore took the stage, his confident facade now cracked and worn. His apology was measured but public, a stark contrast to the arrogant CEO everyone once admired. He admitted mistakes, acknowledged the pain caused by his infidelity and misuse of company resources, and announced his resignation as CEO. Across the room, Rachel sat poised, feeling the weight of years of betrayal begin to lift. The legal settlement had been hammered out with precision. She was granted 40% equity in Whitmore Tech, full custody of their unborn child, and control over the Carter intellectual property, assets she had fought fiercely to protect. Green ensured that the settlement documents explicitly cited Andrew's ethical violations as the primary cause for contract nullification and share redistribution. This wasn't just a financial victory, it was a moral one. One that would echo beyond boardrooms and courtrooms. As Andrew exited the stage, the room fell silent. No applause, no supportive murmurs, just a heavy stillness marking the end of his reign and the beginning of a reckoning. Minutes later, Rachel's phone buzzed with a confidential file from Green's office. Opening it, her eyes widened at the list. Dozens of names, other women who had been silenced by non-disclosure agreements. Victims bound to secrecy under threat and pressure. A new fire kindled within her, a resolve to not just rebuild her own life but to become a beacon for those silenced in the shadows of power. She paused, thinking aloud. It's time to launch a legal advocacy group, something to stand for exploited women in tech. To give them a voice when the world tries to hush them. The battle was far from over, but this was the moment Rachel claimed her ultimate victory. Not just for herself, but for all who dared to demand truth. It wasn't the applause that made Rachel smile, it was the silence after. She had the room, standing on the TED Summit stage, the bright lights casting a gentle glow. Rachel felt the weight of every pair of eyes fixed on her. Yet, it was not the cheers or the clapping that stirred something deep inside her, it was the calm that settled after her words. The quiet where her message truly landed. She spoke with conviction about building after fire, sharing her journey from betrayal and heartbreak to strength and renewal. Her voice carried the fire of resilience, but also the grace of someone who had chosen peace over revenge. Backstage, a small figure tugged gently at her hand. Emma, now a curious toddler, smiled up at her mother with wide, trusting eyes. Her first word, light, had been a beacon in Rachel's darkest moments. A reminder that even in shadow, there is hope. Later, at home, Rachel watched Emma play in the children's park nearby. The carefree laughter and simple joy grounded Rachel in the present. This was her new foundation, not the ruins of her past but the bright promise of the future she was building. Margaret, standing quietly beside her, placed Emma's favorite toy beside Rachel on the stage during the summit, a private blessing. A silent nod to generations past and those yet to come. Rachel's talk concluded with a powerful call to action. Surviving isn't enough. You must rebuild. The words resonated beyond the auditorium, echoing the strength she had forged from pain. Just as she stepped down, her phone buzzed with a new email, an invitation from UN Women to join as a global advisor. The opportunity to amplify her voice and impact on a worldwide stage filled her with renewed purpose. Chris, a gentle presence from the summit, caught her eye briefly. A subtle hint at new connections, new possibilities. But for now, Rachel's story was her own, a testament to empowerment, resilience, and the enduring power of light after darkness. The echoes of betrayal had faded, replaced by the steady pulse of justice finally served. Rachel's journey revealed that truth, though delayed, has an undeniable power to dismantle even the most carefully constructed lies. When injustice is met with unwavering courage, the final verdict can echo through a lifetime. Sometimes, it takes just one brave step to turn the tide against oppression and reclaim what was stolen. No wall of lies can stand forever against the tide of truth.